Welcome everyone back to our ACT Bootcamp. Today we'll be doing our review for reading. This will be our third day as mentioned on the calendar. Um, First day was English, next day was math, today's reading, tomorrow will be science, and then our review day, I know I mentioned it in previous videos that we'll be having a review Zoom. Instead, I'm just going to make a personal video so I'm able to encapsulate everything that we learned this week so that it's easier for people to find the information. But thank you all for coming today. Okay, now over here, let's talk first more about the encompassing of the ACT reading. If any of you have taken it, you might have noticed that it is 40 questions in 35 minutes. Honestly, personally, this is when I think that the ACT starts becoming a little bit more easier in more content-wise, but timing-wise, it becomes the hardest because in the ACT reading, I honestly believe that if everyone was given at least 40 minutes to do the 40 questions, you'd be able to easily knock out a solid 30 plus on the ACT reading. Issue is that we don't have enough time to do everything. So, what I recommend doing is taking at least 8 minutes per passage. It's 4 passages with 10 questions in each, and then 3 minutes left to double check any questions that you might be wondering what the answers are to them. Okay? And honestly, when it comes to starred questions, I know that I put here 3 minutes left to double check any starred questions, but I strongly recommend not leaving the start questions till the end just because you might have read all these passages and then you go back to your start question and you might ask yourself, I have 1 minute left right now or 2 minutes left and I don't remember what the first passage was exactly about. If you need to start it, then just keep moving on. I'd rather you move on instead of being stuck in one place if you're going over your 8 minutes per passage. But please be careful because once you come back, you might not remember what you were first doing. And then these are the types of questions that you may see on the ACT reading. It's different from the ACT math and grammar in its way it doesn't have its proper equations. Reading isn't a subject where you have the same type of equation for different problems. On the ACT math, you can overcome all stats and probability, you can overcome algebra because you understand that that's going to be the equation the next time you see the problem, just with different words or different numbers. You can just plug it in and call it a day. Reading isn't that simple because reading, on the other hand, it's interpretive. You're never going to have the same cold read twice. You're never going to have the same story twice. So this is where it takes more of being able to comprehend it and being able to excel on your reading skills. So as you can see here on the PowerPoint, it's very important to identify and interpret details. When it says identify, it's going to be like straight, like there is just a multiple choice answer that is exactly from the passage. One of the things that I love about the ACT reading is that the answers are found directly in the passage. The only time you have to kind of make an inference is when it's an inference question, but most of the time the answer is directly in the text. Only issue is that you don't have that much time to just go back and find that exact answer, but it is in the passage. And next up is the main idea. The main idea is the same thing as the author's purpose. It's a little bit different. The main idea is the main idea of the text, while the author's purpose is his purpose for actually writing it, the exigence, right? But the main idea when it's an academic writing, so you're gonna see today there's an academic writing on mathematics. It's very easy to find out what the main idea of it is by reading the first paragraph and the last paragraph. That's what a lot of people do. Now, the ACT reading, they say, oh, save time by just reading the intro and the conclusion and going straight to the questions. The only time that I would say to do that is if it's an academic writing. But if it's not an academic writing and it's more of a personal piece, a more creative piece of writing, I recommend just reading the thing in its entirety, just being able to increase your words per minute reading so that you're able to understand the whole entire passage, because some questions might be directly detail-oriented questions that you wouldn't be able to understand if you were just reading the intro and conclusion. Next would be compare and contrast and cause and effect. Compare and contrast might happen due to an argumentative essay or because, as you can see in the bottom, making connections across multiple texts. which means that there are some passages that might say text one and then text two, where they might be the same genre, they might talk about the same item, but they might have contrasting views or just very similar views, but they present it in different ways. And you have to know how to compare and contrast those. And for cause and effect, of course, sometimes it's more academic, sometimes it could be because of someone's life, someone's retelling their life story, and they're showing the cause and effects of their actions. We mentioned inferences already. Sequence of events is kind of like identify in the fact that it is very straightforward in what the answer is. It's just a sequence of the passage. You just look in it and find the answer. We already went through author's purpose. Analyze arguments. That would normally be made when you're making connections across multiple texts. Arguments are normally shown when there's differentiating opinions, differentiating views, and that's normally found when you have two different authors. But yeah, I think next up, oh, finally, before we go into straight into it, I have strategies here, which is read the passage for 2 to 3 minutes. I know that sounds weird because the passage is a page. It's not the shortest thing that you could read, but if you practice, it's really, I'm going to be saying practice, practice, practice on repeat because that is the best way to be able to overcome this portion, just be able to read fast. It can be reading anything, honestly. I'd rather you read more academic things as the vocabulary might be a little bit more advanced. But honestly, you can read absolutely anything, ranging from Harry Potter to all the way to Greek mythology. And just being able to understand and read the pages fast can work wonders for the ACT. Normally, personally, what I have done the day before the test, the days before the test, I don't really study. I don't want to overwork myself. But if I want to practice on my reading speed, I might just pick up, like, honestly, one of my book talk books and just start reading the pages as fast as I can, but being able to understand them, which is very important because you can read as fast as you want. Yeah, you're reading the words, but are you understanding the words? And understanding is very important when it comes to actually answering the questions. And talking about the questions, it should be at least 35 seconds per question. That's what the ACT themselves say, that you should take 35 seconds per question in every passage per question. So 35 times 10 will give you the seconds how you should leave for the passage in itself. And if it is a passage on a specific academic topic, as I previously mentioned, you can kind of get the feeling of the text by reading the beginning and the end. And if I am correct, now we're going to start doing the actual practices. I have 3. Today is very quick because it's something that really is up to you to study. I can't give you mathematical equations and tell you that this is how you're going to find your reading answer. Same thing with the grammar. I can't tell you to look for the comma and that commas follow these rules just because I can't expect what would come up on ACT reading wise. It might range from more academic, more argumentative. You just need to be prepared for anything, like how you would in a cold read class. So I'm going to give you 8 minutes to be able to answer this passage. And then once the 8 minutes are up, we'll go over the answers, okay? Sounds good? Your time starts now. The red is the right answer, okay? So for number 1, it's A. For number 2, it's G. For number 3, it's D. Number 4 is J. Number 5 is B. Number 6 is F. Number 7 is C. Number 8 is F. Number 9 is D. And then number 10 is H. I'm going to move on. Are we ready to move on to the next passage? Let's do one more passage and then I'll give you a private one that you can do and then also one provided by the ACT online. Okay, guys? Let's keep on going. You're going to have 8 minutes to do this one as well. And your time starts now. So 11 was D, 12 was H, 13 was A, 14 was G, 15 was D, 16 was F, 17 was C, 18 was G, 19 was D, and then finally 20 was H. If you want to practice more online, they have an ACT full-length reading version of it. It's the 4 passages with the 10 questions in each, very similar to this, brought to you by the ACT themselves, so there is no surprises. They ask you the questions how they're going to ask it on the real test. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you everyone for coming. I know it's a little bit shorter than the others because it is more of a shorter section, but I am very confident from what I saw and performance-wise that y'all are going to eat up the reading section. I'm not afraid of that. And for sure, if you did this one, the reading section, the science is just very similar to it. It's just reading charts. So I'm very confident in that. Honestly, the big monsters of the test are the grammar and the math. But thank you all so much for coming today, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Okay? Bye!